Yes, for the first time ever, we're doing a post-game video for both Montreal and Vancouver in the same video, because I was like, these games end literally like 10 minutes apart from each other, and one of them is super negative, the other is super positive. As a fan of both teams, this is the duality coming in here, because I know so many Vancouver Canucks fans out there, because of course I'm here in Vancouver, the majority of my friends on social media are from Vancouver, etc. Yeah, it sucks. We really do not have some good morale going on around the fan base right now, but the other half of my brain that was paying attention to the hockey world, the Canadiens fan in me, was like, yes, let's go, baby. Another spoiled shutout towards the end of the game against Edmonton. This time it's Jake Allen. So let's go over both games. And because Vancouver ended earlier, we're going to go over the Canucks game, and then we'll talk about the Habs game. Believe me, Habs fans, you're going to want to hear this because, hey, the Canucks are going to play the Habs next, and for the Canadiens fans out there watching, you might be able to scout some of your next opponents with this video. So Vancouver, yeah, we suck. Yeah, it's, let's go over the good first. The good was that they got off to a hot start. The good was Adam Gaudette looked very good, although he didn't score any goals. The guys who did score goals, though, Jake Virtanen and Tyler Myers, these guys got on the board at the most unexpected times, because it was Jake Virtanen in the first period who took the puck in himself. He walked the line, ended up shooting it towards the goal, and it's off of Valimaki and in past Jacob Markstrom. That is the very first goal the Canucks score against Jacob Markstrom in 2021. And that first period just had such a good energy to the game. Canucks were getting chances. Markey was making big saves like we know he is capable of doing. As we said, Gaudette looked amazing. This guy had like 3 or 4 grade A opportunities that just by the sheer power of will from the hockey gods stayed out. However, the second period is where things really did collapse, and the Vancouver Canucks ended up doing what they've been doing a lot this season: getting into the box, giving up power play goals, and just kind of crumbling down in period number 2. It's like me when I'm playing Hockey Ultimate Team and I have the lead heading into a third period. It always starts out with 1, and then eventually it goes into 2. By the time the period ends, there's always another goal scored with a minute or so left. And the Vancouver Canucks ended up giving... Firstly, it was 1 off of a Johnny Gaudreau play, where Thatcher Demko was down, Gaudreau was in front, and honestly, I think Demko should have had that one. It was a tight, small little hole, I believe it was between the arms of Thatcher Demko, where the puck just barely squeaked in by, and I say squeaked in, that implies that there was a stoppage to some extent, but no, there wasn't even really a stoppage. The puck just went straight in. It's just, it found the smallest little opening there. Eventually, though, it was Mikhail Backlund, who also scored as well from Lucic and Josh Levo. This one was bad, too. The Canucks just could not clear it in front of their crease. And then Elias Lindholm at the end of that second period scores with like 2 seconds left on the power play. And that one was completely demoralizing, because at the end of the day, if you start off period number 3 down 1, there's some sort of chance that you're going to have to come back. Down by 2, it's a lot more skewed into one direction there. And the third period wasn't nice to the Vancouver Canucks either, because it was Mark Giordano also on the power play, where he just absolutely gripped it, ripped it, wound up, and he shot it through. That one goes in, and it's 4-1 Calgary, and then Tyler Myers scores a shorthanded goal a few minutes later. Okay, that was cool. It was nice watching Vancouver guys score goals, and at this time, Vancouver Canucks fan Twitter was just so completely overwhelmed. I was honestly kind of happy, because at this same time, it was like Arturi Lehkonen and Weber getting goals in the Habs game, so I was like, okay, I'm not too upset, not too depressed like all the other Canucks fans are, but I do feel the pain. Eventually, though, it is Rasmus Andersson with like a minute left in the third period, and yeah, you know the story. It's the empty net goal. The Canucks go 0 for 4 on the power play. It looked better at the start of the game, believe me, especially with JT Miller in the lineup. He actually put pucks to the goal. There were tips in front, there were shots in front, there were 2-on-0s too in the first period where Pettersson could not bury it. That one was honestly more unlucky than a reflection of his actual skill set, but if Pettersson puts in that 2-on-0 from Brock Besser earlier in the game, who knows how the rest of the game would have gone. Meanwhile, the Flames were 2 for 7 on the power play. Yeah, you cannot be taking that many penalties, Vancouver, especially if your penalty kill has been as bad this year as it has been. You got a shorthanded goal. Great. It's funny because this team's shorthanded unit has more goals on the special teams than the power play unit does, and that does not feel great. And as a result, there's so much to go forward with and try to evaluate with this team. I want to talk about that tomorrow. I think we can go with a little bit more of a hyperbolic kind of statement for tomorrow's Canucks-related video, but there's another team I wanted to talk about that actually made me happy because Montreal came out here, whooped Edmonton, and you speak about one team taking so many penalties. Yeah, Vancouver was one of them, but the other was Montreal because the Montreal Canadiens, they ended up taking themselves 7 penalties in this one too. Edmonton had 7 power plays, but unlike Calgary, they scored on none of them. And believe me, I was back and forth just like cycling through these games. I had a stream open on my computer for Habs Oilers, and I had the TV feed of Vancouver Calgary on the TV screen right beside each other. So I was watching both of these games. The Montreal show started off with Alexander Romanov, who scored his very first NHL goal. The faceoff is won by Evans, who drops it off Byron, pokes it over to Kulak, who sends it over to the right point, who shoots it, and he scores. Alexander Romanov with the biggest smile on his face. This guy up to 2 points in 3 games played now. He has been an absolute monster. And you just love seeing these guys come over here and have success at the NHL level. That goal was the only goal we saw for a very big part of this hockey game because the Canadiens were out here, they were going to the box a lot. There were so many penalties. Some of them were deserved, like Gallagher's on Nurses, for example. That was not a great penalty to take. Others were just unlucky because, hey, sometimes you end up in the wrong spot at the wrong time. Eventually, though, it is a whole bunch of power play opportunities that don't go through. You also had yourselves a play at the end of the second period, where a goal by Shea Weber was actually called off, because Jeff Petrie was heading towards the goal, tangled up there with Shore of the Edmonton Oilers, and Shore knocks over his goaltender, and then Weber, behind the net, he just banks it off the helmet of Koskinen, and in, that is his 103rd power play goal, I believe, something like that. It's a crazy stat. Eventually it was called off, but then Claude Julien responded, he coaches challenged it, it was reviewed, it was deemed a good goal because the referee who initially thought that Petrie caused the infraction with the goaltender, they reevaluated it, no, he didn't really do anything. So 2-0 Montreal at the end of the second period, and Vancouver at this time is just absolutely getting smoked. So I'm putting more of my attention to the Montreal game, and even though I have the Canucks game open and I'm paying attention to it, I'm still feeling very hopeful. It's Montreal that gives me some stuff to actually cheer about because, Calgary, man, sucks. But with the shorthanded goal we saw with Vancouver comes a shorthanded goal from Montreal too. It was Arturi Lehkonen who, on the shorthanded opportunity, with about 8 minutes left in the third period, a 2-on-1 with Philippe Deneau, he doesn't even pass it, he just absolutely grips it and rips it, beats Koskinen, who did not look all too great this game, I'm going to be honest. He faced 34 shots, he made quite a few saves, but there was definitely some shakiness to Koskinen's game in this one that was very prevalent, and that the Canadiens kind of did build a whole bunch of scoring chances off of. However, with a few minutes to go in the third period, it is indeed that Devon Shore. He comes over here, he giveth with the Shea Weber goal initially, and he taketh with a short-handed goal himself too. And that breaks Jake Allen's shutout streak. It was with like 2 minutes left. Come on, bro. He could not have had it. The exact same thing happened with Price last game, man. Price with the 5-0 lead, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's in the back of the net with a few minutes to go against Edmonton. And Connor McDavid does not do a thing in this one because the Devon Shore goal is unassisted. McDavid actually ended up in the box, putting things on 4-on-4, which was really weird. Now you're starting to question the integrity, the overall talent level, and the projectability of the Edmonton Oilers going into the long term, and you're just looking at Montreal and saying, darn, they've got 2 good goaltenders, they've got a team that knows how to win, that knows how to capitalize, that knows how to penalty kill, and it's the complete opposite from Vancouver. So for me, personally, as a guy who cheers for both of these teams, this is the duality of man right here. And I know there are some people in my comment section who are both Habs and Canucks fans as well. I've seen a whole bunch of Canucks fans saying, oh, Lego, I started watching your videos because of Canucks stuff, but actually watching Habs stuff has made me sort of a fan of them too. And that's always great. You love seeing people who are supportive of the content and the different NHL teams in general. Obviously, I'm not telling anybody that they need to choose sides. It's just that I've seen people do that. So, And with me being both a Canucks and a Habs fan, I see the ups and downs. It's funny how both the Canucks and the Canadiens kind of mirrored each other in tonight's series of games, taking so many penalties, although having different results from it, also scoring shorthanded goals while also heavily emotionally stirring their fan bases. So, if you're a Canucks fan, talk to me about what you think this team has to do. I want to make another video tomorrow just going over the problems because, yeah, you know, it's only 4 games in, I get that, but this season is shorter than all the other ones, so I would not be surprised if Canucks fans started panicking a little bit earlier before they normally would. As for the Canadiens, hey, talk to me about Romanov, talk to me about Weber, talk to me about the guys you liked over here, and what you saw out of the Oilers game tonight. I hope you enjoyed this video, Trolls99, and bye.